let's talk now to David Dunn, the Professor of International Politics at the University of Birmingham in the UK. David, welcome back. So this bill, now law of the land, who are the winners and who are the losers?
Well, politically, Trump is a winner in the sense of that he dominates American politics, he dominates his party, he dominates Congress, and he's pushed through this extraordinary bill. But the bill is the biggest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich, from the young to the old, and the biggest sacrifice of America's future to its present by the impact it'll have on poverty, on macroeconomic stability, and on climate change. So the Wharton Business School reckons that 60% of American population will be worse off, and the top 2 and 5% will be much better off as a consequence of this transfer of wealth through major changes in the tax policy. As you say, it impacts healthcare. 3/4 of the advances in healthcare through the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, will be reversed by this. It will have impacts on poverty by removing food stamps for the very poorest, and it will give massive subsidies to the oil, gas and coal industries at the expense of solar and wind and other renewables. So in many ways it's completely regressive, and in many ways it's very radical on a whole variety of fronts.
The White House believes that these various tax cuts will help stimulate economic growth. Will it?
Almost certainly not. What you're going to have is higher energy costs as a consequence of the subsidies for the fossil fuel industry. You're going to have higher borrowing by adding 3.3 trillion to the deficit and to the massive interest that America pays on that. America now pays more on interest payments than it does on the defence budget. It owes so much money. And of course, it's also going to have an impact on the Americans where they pay their mortgages as a consequence of the higher cost of borrowing. So in many ways, across the board, this is a thing which will hamper the American economy in the short term and the long term, because fundamentally what it does is borrow from future taxation in the which is inevitable given the size of the American budget deficit that this adds to.
This bill narrowly passed through US Congress. The polls suggest the bill was deeply unpopular with many Americans. Will this come back to haunt President Trump and his party at the midterm elections?
Well, the extraordinary thing is with Mr. Trump, despite the fact that he talked about these tax cuts, Americans seem to be enamoured by him and prepared to vote for him or his party, no matter what the consequences are for them. There is a provision in this bill that actually the cuts to Medicaid and other things like that don't happen until after the midterm elections. So they have deliberately timed it, recognising that there would be potentially political costs to it. He's almost as if he's calculating the impacts of this bill won't affect him because he's constitutionally not allowed to run for office for a third term. So there is a recognition in the way in which the whole thing is being structured that actually once people wake up to this that they may not like it, but in the short term he's prepared to reward his friends in the oil and gas industry, reward the billionaires who benefit enormously from this, and to actually punish the people who voted for him by the way in which these will impact on the majority of the American population. It's extraordinary.